Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. Okay, so I don't even know why I don't click record at the beginning, because then what I do is I just like waste time, because then I have to repeat to all of you out there what I just said. So I'm going to give you a really condensed version, because I'm not going to waste any time not sharing Courtney with you, although that's not really, I kind of wanted to just keep her to myself, which elevates even about what you're about to hear. That told her, I said, that's my only problem that I have in the world right now, which isn't that a great problem to have, is that I just want to literally like sit here and talk to Courtney, which she and I talk often. Um, and I'm like, but part of the reason that we came together, and we definitely feel like we were divinely put together, because we're a bit of a puzzle piece, she and I. We're alike, but we're different. And our whole coming together was literally based on the premise that we have the same mission in life, which
Yeah.
is to expand consciousness and to expand love and to help put wealth into the hands of those who are conscious. And so it's really made it easy for us because we're so congruent. It's almost like we've gotten to know each other under the umbrella of that. And now she knows so many personal things about my life. I'm surprised she hasn't like thrown me back to the pond, but obviously you guys, she's still here. We have evidence that she's still here, right? Um, but I will say just this last thing. One of the things, no, I have to say two things, but at least I'm not going to say 22 amazing things about Courtney. Two things. Number one, she is the closest thing that I have in my life and that I've come across to being a whole being. And I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's basically like she is a very centered, independent, full love type of being. The second thing is her brain works differently than mine. And I'm more of an up in the clouds, and she can bring things down to earth, which is hopefully what we're going to help do for you. And the last thing I'll say is that she was in not this round of the mastermind, she was in the last round, and she was one of the ones that sort of kept coming up to the front of the room, if you will. It's a Zoom class, but you can feel energetically. She kept coming up and she'd go, "Oh, wait, I finally get this thing that you were talking about, Elizabeth. Like, I finally get what money neutrality is and all of this." And it was just like, so this has been a kind of a natural progression here, but having her here to talk to you guys is metaphoric, because everything I teach is all about the bridge, the energy, bringing it down, going across the bridge and going to the 3D. It's metaphorically really in line here, because Courtney is very much a bridge for me. And then now for you guys, she's really a bridge for every single human she comes across. But at least, I'm going to share her for a few minutes with you guys.
You're gonna make me cry before we even get started.
Ah,
Thank
God. So
you.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so happy to visit with you.
Yeah.
It was so my introduction to Elizabeth, like she mentioned, was through the Mastermind class, but I was actually introduced to you first through your podcast with Elise Lowen. And
Mhm.
when I heard you, I thought my head might explode. I could feel my spirit just I couldn't believe the words you were saying. I couldn't believe it because it felt like someone who was finally speaking the language that I had just been desperately searching for on my own. And, we're in such a culture right now of expansion and manifestation, and there's absolutely room for all of those things. But you this is different. This is beyond manifestation. This is, um, like it feels more like the realignment of our souls with our divine design, and I had never heard anyone speak, about the topics, particularly about money, the way you did, and how it is all connected, uh, energetically and spiritually, and like, I literally think I could have heard the angels singing.
Mm.
I could have heard the angels singing Silent Night.
Amazing. Yeah, well, thank God, literally, that you listened to that podcast and that you connected with that because, you kind of went with it, but then also, you were kinda like, well, um what did you say? Like, you went with it and you knew it, and then but then you were like, "Is this something that resonates with me?" Or because there's a little bit of, like, what you also bring in, and you've really, really bubbled to the surface with me, is that, um, more alignment for me and for the brand and for, like, because you're seeing it from the inside out. We're going through a massive expansion point right now. It's like stepping into a giant portal, let's, like, all of our hair is being blown back right now.
Mhm. Mhm. It's so
Yeah.
exciting. It's so exciting, and so perfectly timed, all of it, where you're going and what you're doing and, the influence that you're having, it is so perfectly timed.
Yeah, it really is because, um, you, I mean, you've just brought in such a foundational element for me because, we talk about this a little bit, but like, I don't know how seriously people talk about it when we go, okay, well, our personal life and then what we do is kind of one and the same thing. I mean, it really is one and the same thing if you're operating from an authentic place. I would say all the aspects in our life are congruent if we're operating from an authentic place, right? You don't go in the yoga class and you're like, "Oh my god, I feel so good," and then you have road rage. There's an
Mhm,
inauthenticity, right?
mhm.
So, you not only do you have, like, such, a good capture of, like, it's almost like you're seeing into the future, with the business and the brand, but um you're such a solid foundation from an aspect of just even the personal side of things because like you and I, we have such very again, very different backgrounds, right? Could they be more different?
I know. I know.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's helping me a lot. Um, one of the things that we, talked about the other day though, and I think that you really, really brought this down to earth inside the mastermind, is this concept of money is love. Um, and you also really, really grounded in the concept of money neutrality. And I just have to give it to you. I remember watching you, and you were just like, you went vertical. You were so intent because I mean, that a lot of people do in the mastermind, right? And you
Well
were just like, you were like, okay, I think I get this, but I don't. So describe your experience in there of because a lot
well,
of people just stare for a while.
first, to back up, when I went to your website and, filled out the application for the mastermind, I thought that I was applying to something that I may or may not be chosen for. I really
Mhm,
believe that. And
mhm,
and maybe that is or will be the case, but when you come into something wanting it so badly, just that place of, you know, I don't know if desperation is the right word, but just my whole life has been this culmination of wanting, seeing, and believing these things about who I am and what I'm capable of and why I'm even on the planet. And then just seeing these other places that lacked alignment with that, like that
mhm,
gut knowledge of who I am and why does my life, you refer to it as the 3D. Why does my 3D life still have these gaps that don't match this, this spiritual life, and not just the spiritual life, but this internal knowing of who I am and what I'm here to accomplish. And, so it was birthed out of desperation or frustration or whatever. And then to be in the class and have these concepts that it feels like, I was fertile ground. I had done all this work, learning to heal my heart and love myself and reconcile the ways that I thought I could be so much better or different, or, well, if I had just been a white male born to a strong white male father, then I would have had this knowledge of power or capacity or influence, that because I was a woman and born in the South and, under these very traditional backgrounds, a traditional background, that somehow life served me up this big, helping of powerlessness. And I just couldn't, it just didn't make sense. And my spirit knew it, but I couldn't, I there was nothing on the outside of my life that would, validate that knowing. And so in class, I had already done so much work to heal relationships, family relationships and, um, even marital, my husband and I, and how we are iron sharpening iron, but sometimes that iron gets real hot and sometimes it's painful. But, really desperately trying to use all of those things, all of those relationships to deepen my understanding of myself and to heal wounds and, like I said, ultimately love myself. So coming into the mastermind with that fertile soil, just put me in the right place at exactly the right time. And honestly, I don't know that had I done it any sooner, that I question if if the soil would have been ready for what got
Mhm.
planted. So, um, then I think maybe, one of the big takeaways was, that money is just an external mirror shining back to me. So one of the things, and I'll quickly tell it, but in the mastermind, one day before my class, there was this homeless woman in the parking lot of the grocery store, and she asked me for money, and I gave her $100, and then I drove away, and I was like, "Well, why didn't you give her more? Why didn't you could have given her more. You had more cash. You never have cash. Why didn't you give her more cash?" And just this internal dialogue of doubt and distrusting, and then coming into the class and realizing that if I don't trust me, money is not going to trust me. Money's
Uh-huh.
just following my lead.
Uh-huh.
Money is going to be for me what I am for me and just echo that. So, yeah, it makes sense why my bank account doesn't look like I had expected or believed it should. Um, because if I don't trust me, money won't either. So money will stay away because of lack of trust.
Yes, and by you sharing that, hopefully people can feel that if money and is your energy, then is it ever out of your control? Is it ever out of your reach? In fact, isn't it fully exactly you
Oh,
where you
yes.
are? And I think I remember you coming in and telling that story, actually. And I think most people, especially listening to this podcast or would be in the mastermind, are at a level where it's like you said, you've done the work. And so what's great about it is that your level of awareness was high enough to where you knew that that was a blip in the fabric. That wasn't just like a normal, I've just picked up, but just bought pickles at the grocery store, right? It was a blip. And we can feel when there's a blip, and we don't necessarily have to go through all of the suffering and all of the, like, the bomb doesn't need to blow up with us because we've done the work. But see, what a lot of people do, I think, is that they do the work, do the work, do the work, and then they're not willing to bring money into it, because you had to actually say, okay, money, you're welcome to come over here and sit at the table with me,
Yes.
right? And so they don't. So that's, it's in some ways they're kind of like missing out because they're not even using the level that they're at to even correspond with money.
That it just as you know so well, and I'm sure you see over and over and over again with in your classes, there's just so much energy around money. There's so much, ingrained, embedded generational beliefs about money, and, because it is truly such a lifeline. But when you extinguish the power that we're associating with it, then we could be talking about, you know, marshmallows or
Mhm.
candy canes. It's nothing. It's just a
Mhm.
tool, but it's coming into, the mastermind. I had already done so much work, that you define as money neutrality.
Mhm.
I had really, cleaned house, so to speak, as it related to what I believed about money. And that was super handy because then once you clear out the big boulders from the path, then they start to get smaller and smaller so that now we're just picking up stones. But these stones, you know, at the end of the money journey or the you know, revelation about our beliefs is they're smaller and smaller but more precious and more ingrained. So coming from I don't know how many generations of, um, well-intentioned, hardworking, people that believed, money might not come easily, that, once you had it, you need to hold on tight to it. It
Mhm.
is virtuous, godly even, to save money and not spend money. Um, and when I years ago, when I began to understand, and in my mind, I'm very visual, and in my mind, it is the shape of an infinity symbol, and that's money. It's flow. It has to go out to in order to come in. We have to be able to give in order
Mhm.
to receive. And I used to think that the only outflow that was virtuous was literally generosity or giving money away. But when I started realizing that spending money is in the same way uh, an opportunity to get into flow, as long as there's not fear surrounding that spending of the money,
Mhm.
then it's just another way that money is going to go out so that it can come in. And
Mhm.
it and I think probably more than anything, just recognizing that all those virtuous ways of approaching our money beliefs, if we really, really dial it back and get down to the heart of the matter, there's fear there.
Mhm.
There's fear.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't save my money, I won't have any money. If I don't work hard enough, then I won't have any money. If I spend money and buy a fancy new car, what are people gonna think of me and my fancy new car? You know, just and when we get real, committed to and able to identify the fear behind the money beliefs, then all of a sudden you can kinda just objectively look at those beliefs and think, "Well, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't serve me," and enter into a new level of freedom so that then in that place of freedom, you join the mastermind class and then have an awareness that I don't trust my decisions, so therefore money doesn't trust me either, and then just decide that I'm so trustworthy. I'm so trustworthy. I mean, objectively, ask anybody, ask my family, ask my friends,
Mhm.
am I trustworthy? And it would be
Mhm.
a resounding yes.
Yes.
But what's my problem with me?
Right.
And when I find out when I am honest with what my problem with me is, then all of a sudden money's like, "Okay, cool. Then I can trust you too."
Mm. God, this is so good. It's so good because, even hearing you talk about this, like, it just you're describing the holistic system that's money, and we know, like, because you're really good at relationships, that's a holistic system.
Mhm,
That's a flow, that's a give and receive, it's a circular thing, right? And so now you brought money into that space. When you were talking about money, it was interesting because I started thinking of, like, how you have, I don't know, here's my microbiology degree coming up, out of the shadows. Uh, you have, like, the red blood cells that, like, they're flowing through the body, right? And then you can hit certain points of resistance, right? The liver is tired from the party last night or something like that, and there's like some resistance there, right?
Mhm.
Or could be a blockage or whatever. But like when you talked about how, and it is really that is a conditioning in a lot of people. Like you better hold the money because it's not safe otherwise, or I can't give the money away because if I do, then what if money doesn't come back to me and I've given all the money away, right? So it's just like
Right.
like it's like a block in the system. But when you really start to think about, like, and you sort of challenge yourself almost, well, if I think everything else is a system and I do know money is energy, then how could I not also see the truth that that's a system too? It's a holistic system. And so there could be a block with regards to investing. Investing is too risky. There could be a block with regards to money management. I don't want to look at my account. It makes me feel bad when I look at my account, something like that. Like you're exactly right. It's the realness of you and you
Mhm.
that actually causes, all you're really doing is you're sort of getting that system going again, right?
That's right. One of the other, realizations I had actually after the class, um, and it was so good that you made us open an account. You made us start actually, buying stock um, and it's all teaching our mind. It's normalizing things like that. Um, but for me, because and I don't know if it's a belief system or if it is just my DNA and how I was created, but uh, I remember working with a therapist several years ago, and I'm very entrepreneurial by nature, and I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and um, I said, I've never made any money on my own. I want to make money on my own. And she said, "Yes, you have." And I'm like, "Well, explain that to me because, I just couldn't reconcile that." And she said, "Money comes to you through what you value, and what you value is relationship.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
because you are friends with that person, because you were his or her granddaughter, because you were married to him, because you know." And all of a sudden, when I realized that what you love is what loves you, that is exactly how money comes to me. And it is through the thing that I might value more than anything else, and that is relationship. So when I then gave myself permission to believe that I am a wealth creator as well, then all of a sudden I, eliminated that fear, that lack of self-worth in that, you know, area. But back to the mastermind class, um, I realized money doesn't care how it comes to you. It doesn't
Mm.
care
You're right, it doesn't
unless you care.
unless you care.
Unless you
Yes, that's exactly it.
So,
Yes.
my husband had a really amazing, uh, week 1 week during the middle of the mastermind,
Mhm.
and even though I had, done the work and opened the trading account and done all the things, money came to me in a big windfall in exactly how money had always come to me
Yes.
because it doesn't care. So
Right.
it can come through the trading account. It can come through, my husband. It can,
Mhm.
and it was just one more way of teaching myself, if you care, money will care. So how about
Mhm.
if it's just so much easier if I don't care?
Mhm. It's
So
so beautiful.
operating through the world
Mhm.
like, just letting go of these attachments. Um, one of the very, very, very big one I was raised with was the idea of waste. And it goes back to, we don't waste anything because we might not have more. And
Mhm.
if we aren't good stewards of every single I'm thinking actually of a jar of jelly. If we are not good stewards of every single dollop of jelly in that jar, we might not be blessed with more resource to have more jelly.
Uh-huh.
And that is exhausting. That mentality is
Yeah.
exhausting. Um, and I'm just so grateful to have, uh, to get to have a different perspective, to get to have a different approach. Because money shouldn't be exhausting. Money shouldn't be hard. Money and wealth creation should be easy. Um, because it wants to be. I'm convinced that money wants to be easy for us.
Mhm.
But then when we have another virtue of suffering, we need to suffer. It's got to be hard. If we don't work hard, if we don't have some degree of suffering in the creation of wealth, then it's not a noble pursuit.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Ugh,
Money is listening to you either way, and you're the one
money.
that's putting the suffering energy into the
That's
money,
right.
not the other way around.
Money is always listening. Money
Always
is just like
listening.
having little children and you say, "Please say please, please say thank you, please, basically do as I say and not as I do." And then, your little precious 2-year-old drops an F-bomb.
Right.
Just doing what they're just following your lead. Money is following our lead, period.
Right.
So then what becomes really important is, where do you wanna lead it?
Mhm.
What do you wanna create? How do you want money to respond to you? And and I love that when, if I decide that I want money to just come easily to me, money's gonna be like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna still show you the ways that it might not be easy."
Mhm.
And it'll always come to the surface.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. And I love that you said decide because I mean, you blew us away in the mastermind. And by the way, this is how this works because you inspired by your journey, like you're coming in there and you're like staring into the screen. You're like, what the hell? Okay. I'm listening to all this stuff. What the hell is Elizabeth talking about? And then all of a sudden you're like, boom, you just kept getting these things. But then what happened is you went out and you did it and you were like actively, doing these, like you say, the investing account and then you called in the money and so you're curious, right? And you're following this along and you're learning and you're embodying it. Then you come back to the mastermind and you blow us away like with your stories and we're all sitting there like, so it's like it's almost like you and I think that I'm saying this because I think this is what a lot of people want to aspire to do in their lives in general is they want to be learning at this really very deep level, but they also want to be inspiring at the same time. And I think we are like sort of in the knowing now that we don't have to just do one thing and then wait and do one thing and wait. And when you said you decide, that's the thing with you is that you decided to do it. And so you put your energy behind it. You're like, I'm going to call in this money.
Yeah.
And then a week later, you're like, the money is here. And what it really showed everyone as they're sitting there in silence is, wow, um, there really is no such thing as time with money either. It is simply you decide. And what people don't realize is in their decision, energetically behind their decision, if they really look, is going to be an element of time, meaning I'm not ready, I don't know how, I'm okay to wait. It's okay if that $1,000,000 comes to me in a year. Why? Why decide that? Why?
Right, right. And again, at least for me, it has always tied to some belief that either I was taught or, that I decided on my own at some point. But just to be able to be objective about those beliefs and just, why does it have to be that way?
Mhm,
Why do I? And it doesn't. Ultimately, it doesn't. Um, but I do want to communicate that it can be so simple, but sometimes it's it is challenging. It is challenging because there are those moments of fear when it might be your last $100 and, the spirit is saying, "Give it," because the spirit wants to show you how abundant the spirit can be, how abundant money can be.
mhm.
And so there is the facing of fears. There is, you know, that tilling of the soil. Sometimes it's really hard rock that's being tilled up, and,
Mhm.
and having to face those people that taught us all these virtuous things with your newfound beliefs, and trusting yourself more than your desire to have them be proud of the way that you approach money, the way they taught you to approach money.
Exactly. You're either living into the old identity, which really is
That's right.
easier and kind of, like, makes you feel good and,
Yeah, it
let's
makes
it's a
them feel good.
it's that kumbaya thing. You're
Yes,
either doing that or you're going through an ego death, and it's fine either way, but the ego death is the only thing that is going to get you to the expansion point that you're desiring. So
that's exactly right.
you can't be kumbaya and then, "Oh, I wanna save the world." Well, okay, money is a great ego killer. It is one of the best because money takes you down so deeply as far as
That's right.
survival. That's why I love, like, having money as a tool for expansion, and I think that because there's been such a bifurcation historically of money is evil, but going out and doing good things is good, well, that is, like, the biggest illusion I've ever heard. Money is just you.
That's right. So that means that there's some part of you that believes that you are evil,
Right.
or that if you have money, you too will be evil.
Yes, because people do. They sort of push money back because 'cause they're like, "I don't want money to change me. I don't want to I'm afraid of what I'll be if I had $100,000,000." Well,
And great.
the
You
money
won't.
doesn't have the
Yeah.
power to change
No.
you.
No.
You're afraid of your own self-expression if somebody doesn't have a lid on you? Holy shit, that's a big one.
I remember, well, my dad, and I adore my father. He loves to buy a car and drive it until literally the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
His car right now, has 250,000 miles, and he has no plans to replace it, or, and he's got plenty of money to go buy whatever he wants to, but that's not what he wants to do. And I love that for him. I love that, he just gets his jollies from driving that old clunky car, and more power to him. But I remember once I bought a new car, and, the car that it replaced only had, 30,000 miles on it or whatever. And I remember thinking, "Can I drive this new car to my dad's house?
Mhm.
What happens if my dad sees this fancy new car that I bought for
Mhm.
myself? And what is he gonna think of me? Is he gonna
Mhm.
judge me because I don't drive my cars into the ground?" And ultimately, that is money showing me that that fear of judgment, if that exists, if I allow that to persist, then money's going to be like, got it. Fear of judgment. We cannot allow more money, because more money will equal more judgment, and you don't want
Mhm.
judgment.
That's exactly it. Yes. Yeah, and you know what's funny is that, the fear of judgment is the ego, and the buying something, giving something to yourself is not, although to the outside world, driving a fancy car would be like, "Oh my
Well,
god,
it's
that's ego." So we see how there's no reality anyways, except for the
no,
reality that we create anyway, so who cares?
exactly. Exactly. But you bring up a really good point. There's the action of buying a car. It's the motivation behind the action that is everything. Did I buy this new car because I want everybody to see me and think that, I'm such a cool girl driving my brand new whatever it is? Or did I buy this car because this is such a beautiful car, and it makes me so happy to be able to do this for me, and to drive this beautiful car? And the car is the same, but the
Mhm,
reasoning behind it is everything. So
mhm,
therefore, money, again, money is just love, and money is going to follow my love wherever that leads. But
yes. Yeah,
it, that in that judgment business is where it gets real sticky, because we are so tempted to be the ones looking at that other person with the new car and thinking, "Oh, well, do they really need the new car? Did they?"
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I just love that money is such a reliable source of being a flashlight into our souls.
I do too. And I also love see, this is one of the great things about you is you bring up these really fun, tangible examples because 'cause you're talking about, the truck with your dad, and then, of course, I'm, like, thinking about me. I'm like and then other people listening to this are probably like, "Huh, what do I think about that?" Right? I'm kinda with your dad, like, I've never really cared about cars, and so I buy a truck because I always drive a truck because I pull horse trailers and I have an Airstream, and so I have to have a truck. Well, I kind of forget, and I just drive the same truck and the same truck and the same truck, and I just buy it outright. I never have a payment or anything, so I forget. So it's not like some people get reminded. They're like, "My payment's coming up," or something, right? So I forget, but it's funny because here's the thing is what you're saying is so brilliant because is it a self-expression of who you naturally are? Because I find that if it is, then I don't think about it. It's not really an
Right.
issue. However, what I find fascinating is that it also, if we're really allowing ourselves to continue to look at ourselves and get to know ourselves, guess what? That can actually change. Because now it's funny because I started looking at cars the other day and I was like, maybe I would get a new car. And then I'm like, then I start thinking, would I buy a truck or would I just keep that truck? And then would I get a different car? And I started noticing myself. And it was really the joy for me had nothing to do with a car. The joy for me was that I was an observer in that moment that I'm actually different than maybe I was before. That was the magnificent part, because I
Uh-huh.
think it's like the discovery of something new. When we go into the same circumstance and we're like, "Wow, I just acted different." And then other people start to perceive us as being different and like the whole thing starts to kick off. You know what I mean?
I love earlier, you mentioned money management,
Yeah.
and that is absolutely one of the biggest ways that, money has served me and continues to serve me to shine a light on what I believe. Um, Money management and taxes and accounting might be at the very, very bottom of what I enjoy.
Well,
I
she said
mean,
it.
like,
Can we get an amen?
oh my god, I hate it so much, and because I have always hated it, then, the belief is, well, you're bad at it too. You're really bad at it. Um And, in fact, I remember when my husband and I first got married and we had very, very little money, and I would be paying the bills and he would be working, at the office, and we'd leave the office together and he would say, "How much money is left in the bank account after you paid all the bills?" And I was like, it was like 300 and something. He's like, 301? 399? Like, what is the
That's
and I'm like, "I don't know, but it's gonna be fine. Don't
yeah.
worry about it. Whether it's 301 or 399, it's gonna be fine." And so just this lifetime of, I hate money management, I'm bad at money management, you don't like that feeling when you check your balance because it's probably gonna be lower, and that means you're terrible at money ownership too, and what really I'm getting at, the culprit of the whole thing is shame. It's all
Mm,
shame
mm.
because
Yeah.
you don't deserve to have a lot of money if you're not good at managing it. You don't deserve to have a big bank account if you don't know if it starts with a 3 or a 4, your balance. Just and so really
Mm,
probably more than any other, if there's a final frontier for Courtney with money, it is changing that belief, just being present with that shame that surrounds that feeling of money management, um, because ultimately I just want to trust that I was created as someone who enjoys beautiful things and that beautiful car and this beautiful life.
Mhm.
Um, and as it turns out, all these things require money. So, um, just cleaning out that corner of my basement as it relates to money, and it's all rooted in shame. And I'm a big believer that the only way to make any change ever, ever, ever is love.
Yep, you're right. And I'm so glad that you brought that shame element up to it because every single thing we do with money, it's hard to even make a decision with money and not go, "Oh, this is good or bad."
Mhm.
It's so difficult, right? It's literally just you getting to know you, right? Even just what I shared about the car, right? Like
Mm.
I'll stay in a hotel and pay thousands of dollars a night, right? It's like well, why? Why, Elizabeth? Because does it have something to do with identity? Does it have something to do with money? Does it have are you in money neutrality with all of it? Um it's just a reflection back. It's like you said earlier, what you said earlier, you said money is marshmallows.
It could be.
I mean, okay, so if money was marshmallows, think of how much easier our life would be because we wouldn't have this, "Oh, this means something about me,"
That's
or
right.
"This doesn't mean," or "I need you to know this about me." Because think
That's
of all the
right.
energy that we spend going,
Oh my gosh.
"I need you to know that I have on a cashmere sweater," or "I need you to know that this is" I mean, come on. We are
And
so insane is what we are. We are
yeah,
literally insane, and I think money is reflecting back our insanity.
and if I was really bad at counting marshmallows, nobody would care.
No. No.
Nobody would I wouldn't care
We'd be like,
because
"Hey, there's a wait, are you missing a marshmallow? Here's a pink one. Here you go. Here, over here. Are you missing a" I
it
mean, come on.
but
Which
that's how ridiculous it is, and I love that vast distinction between money and marshmallows
is so good.
because then it really shows me, oh my gosh, all the ways that I have all these, beliefs that aren't serving me, that are actually making my life harder than it has to be.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, money neutrality, you can get pretty close if you just swap money for marshmallows. Oh my god. Well, this has been incredible. I want it to be like 3 times, the amount here, but, um, is there anything else coming up from you? Because you're so connected, you're so tapped in and, um yeah, is there anything else that you wanna bring up?
Just, one other thing that, during our class, I was observing about our classmates. Um, I believe that inspiration and creativity has the potential to lead us to fun, and in my mind, fun is easy, and I really hope that, as we were talking about, you and I have such a heart for expanding consciousness and empowering people, and, I hope that that's one of the things that, in our work we can really hone in on is it's not like the universe plunked you out here on this planet and was like, "Good luck making ends meet. Good luck making that, you know, rent payment. Good luck keeping the lights on and putting groceries on the table. Good luck." No, the universe gave every single one of us that thing that lights us up, that makes us feel valuable, that makes us feel creative, um, that is like, "This is why I'm here." And that's the way. That is the
Mhm.
way to the abundance that every single one of us, I really believe all of us, could tap into. Um, but we're so wired, we're so programmed to, um, that it has to make sense, that it has to be, it's the old adage that, our mothers and fathers didn't want us to go to school to learn to be artists. They wanted us to go to learn, go learn to be doctors and lawyers and whatever, because
Uh-huh.
it made more sense. And
Mhm.
I want to give all of us permission to have fun and be creative beings, because that is the source. That's how we plug into the abundance that money is just waiting to give to us.
Yes. Yes, you're right, and thank you for bringing that up. You also brought something else up earlier that I think even ties into this and even sort of maybe piles on top of it, which is you brought up that money goes through relationships. And whenever you start to become creative and you start to have fun, what happens is that flows through you, but then it starts to piece itself together, like almost like a puzzle comes together of relationships on how you can actually expand as one. That's what we're really supposed to be doing is going into one consciousness. However, if you have the blocks within the system, right? We said like, the organs in the system and all that, then that energetically like you can't get out there. Like you have such a stop to your relationships because if you think about it, have we ever done anything on our own? Or is it just so
Exactly.
beautiful when you get into a relationship and you have done the work to clean up your flow with money, right? And you're creative and you're all of that. And then you're not having that resistance. It's almost like 2 humans or 5 or 6 humans or whatever, and I believe that this is a big part of our future too, come together almost as one. It becomes its own entity.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, there are no lone rangers.
Uh-uh.
And
No.
I know there are people thinking, "Well, nobody helped me make money. No, I didn't ever," No, even if it's just your relationship with yourself, your relationship with you know, the universe or your higher power, it's all relationship. It's all and relationship is just the mechanism by which it uh to shine a light on what we believe.
Mhm. It is. And through relationships, I actually see myself, even this conversation, even just talking about, the stuff that I have with money, because we all have our stops with money. I love looking at I have plenty, right? And so but I can't see them all. How the hell am I gonna see them all? It's like I it's like what I always tell you, can't read the label from inside the
Inside
jar. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then I have people around me like you who are like, "Okay, well, you ready for this? Because it's coming." I'm like, "Yes." Courtney can say anything to me, by the way, you guys. I guess a lot of people can, but Courtney really can.
Aw. Mm,
Yeah, so thank you for being in my life, and thank you for
thank
coming here
you.
and sharing your amazing light with everyone here. You started out in the mastermind with a bang, and everyone was like, "Wow, okay." And then now I think it's just kind of that maybe even was a bit of a jump start. It, like you say, the timing, right, for
Oh,
you to then
absolutely.
expand out into the world because I think it brought a lot of clarity to you in terms of not just necessarily what you wanna do, but I think it brought clarity to you in terms of where your role is in the world and allowed you to kinda get behind it a little bit more.
Yeah, I had definitely been on that path of self-discovery before the class, but the class absolutely helped underline that and, um, helped open my eyes to the value that I bring, and I don't just mean the intrinsic value, I mean the actual value that I bring to relationships, ultimately relationships.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Alright. Well, thank you for co-creating the episode, you and I together and energetically everyone here. This has been a miracle in itself, as I knew it would. So, thank you, Courtney,
Oh, thank
and,
you.
I'll see you guys on the next episode.